All right, what's going on, everyone? Ed, Chloe, we're back at it again.
I don't know what we're doing. Why do we keep doing this?
Hey, you haven't shut us down yet, so
Yes.
we'll just
Give
keep
it time.
Give it time. Yeah, for sure. Well, that's why we just don't let Chloe take over, because who knows what would happen.
It would get so big.
Oh, it'd get crazy. She'd probably force her Marines that she's responsible for. Go watch this podcast.
Yeah, that's how we got 163 followers. Didn't you know?
Yeah. Actually, I'd send it out last night, but there you go. You can say it was you.
Oh, he didn't want you to have credit for that one.
That's why I said it first. If I take credit for it first, it just seems like Ed's lying.
Oh, for sure.
I see how that is around here.
He's just trying to keep up with you now. Yeah. For sure. Well, awesome. Well, welcome everyone. Today we are live for Helping the Brave. We are live on our Helping the Brave Facebook page. Trying to get my phone to hold still. There we go. But we're also live on Helping the Brave YouTube, and we're live on Matt Denny LinkedIn because we're still getting the live accounts set up for the Helping the Brave. But really excited today to have a conversation with ourselves. So this podcast is designed, Ed's brainchild, our creation to help veterans transition. Well, hey, guess what? The three of us that are on the screen right now are all veterans. Kristin, she's not a veteran, but she's freaking awesome. And but we didn't kick her out just because we're talking about ourselves today. She couldn't make it. Kristin, if you do listen to this later, we still love you. Don't worry.
Yeah. We'll let you do one all by yourself.
There you go. Just Kristin talking to herself. So today we're just going to interview ourselves, talk to each other. We do have someone online, Amy Tiermeyer, who's another veteran. So welcome, Amy.
Hey, Amy.
Amy on the show, volunteer-aholic over here.
Yeah. I don't know when she sleeps.
I don't think she does, which means she's got time to do the podcast. So we're good.
There you go.
There you go.
Bring her in.
All right. So I'm going to kick us off. Let's see. So Ed, when did you transition? Your transition happened from military to civilian life?
God, a long time ago. Long time ago. It was early 90s. It was early 90s. So it's been a long time. And my transition back then versus today was a little different, right? It hadn't had a war in a while. We didn't really have any skirmishes or anything going on. So at the point when I was stationed in San Diego, it was almost like people didn't like the veterans around there in the community. That's kind of how it seemed. It really wasn't that way, but that's just kind of how it seemed. And so when you transition out at that time, they're there to help you transition. Like when I remember DAV was at Disabled American Veterans, they'd sit down with you and they say, okay, you're getting out. Let's see your medical record. Well, I was a corpsman. I was in physical therapy. I picked up a lot of people. I was an EMT. I taught EMT. I did a lot of that. So I got injured by helping people. My medical record was huge. If you can't see that, it's like 4 inches thick because of all the stuff of what I did as a corpsman. And so they went through it and they found out that they're going to give me a disability rating, right? That's what you do that all in when you're getting out. And so that was the only thing they helped me with when I was getting out, which is totally different these days, right? Back then there was like, okay, see you later. But I'd already had a plan myself. And it's the same thing that Chloe says about to her people. Have a plan before you get out. My plan was I had just finished my bachelor's. I was working on my master's. I knew I didn't want to be in medical anymore. And I wanted to be in the business world. I didn't know exactly where that was going to fall into, but that's what I wanted to. And so when I got out, I was already going forward and I ended up getting in the computer industry. And then later on, I fell into the mortgage industry, which I love because I love numbers. So
somebody's got to, because I don't. So
yeah. Well, actually, I wasn't. You know what I mean? It was weird. I was one of those kids in high school that I was talking to somebody else and I said, I want to do a meme where it shows the one kid cheating off the other kid, right? And the other kid's got his arm over it and you can't see it. And to put out there and say, which kid were you in high school and which kid are you now in business? Well, pretty much most of us are the same kid, right? We're the ones stealing the information to make it our own. And that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, within reason, not, really stealing. So I was told I was going to be a blue collar worker. I wasn't going to amount to anything in high school. And don't get me wrong, when someone tells me stuff like that, of course, I'm going to amount to something else. So,
sure.
You get out, join the Navy, see the world. I got to see San Diego and then San Antonio and back to San Diego, North County, San Diego. So I had a great time. When I was in, I didn't go anywhere but San Diego. So I enjoyed it.
Were you ever shipside or always landside?
I went on a ship once to see a friend of mine.
Okay.
So So I was a corpsman, right? And so you get to your first duty station, right? And they're like, okay, you work the wards. Well, what they did with me, they said, anybody know computer skills? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And so they sent me down to medical mobilization and planning. And I dealt with readiness teams and disasters and that kind of stuff. And then it was 18 months was my tour there. And they're like, okay, you have two choices. You're definitely going to a ship, or you can go to a specialty school. And I said, what specialty school is not on ships? And they said physical therapy. And I said, guess what I want to do? Let's just go to physical therapy. So I did that, which I really enjoyed that part of it. And I still do that stuff to this day for myself when I do it. I don't look like it, but when I run and I do other things, I always, you get injured and I know what to do. So I didn't really get stationed on a ship at all, but I had friends who did. And I was joking that I don't remember what to salute and what not to salute because I never had to go on the ship, ask permission to come aboard, all that kind of stuff. Right. The only ships I was in San Diego, I took a 40-foot yacht down to Cabo once, and that was about it. And swore I'd never do that again. I don't like ocean.
You talk about the when to salute, when not to salute. That's how Marines feel when they come out of boot camp and they meet Navy people for the first time. Because Marines, we are taught to salute the shiny, make it easy. If it's shiny, salute it. Well, the Navy screws that all up and makes all your enlisted shiny. I was like, what the heck? This is messing me up. I have a system and it's not working now. A simple guy.
Yeah. Well, what are you going to do? For us, we were taught just whenever you dealt with Marine Corps lieutenants or captains or whatever, you just don't call them sir, call them their rank, because it really made them upset.
That's the worst advice ever.
It is, but I'm just telling you. So I'm back to Camp Pendleton after physical therapy school. We're standing there, and then a lieutenant walks in, and he's like, he's trying so hard to get us to say sir to him, and we're like, yes, lieutenant, because we're Navy, man. And then medical, and I tell people it's like MASH at the time I was in. All right. The hospital I was stationed at, Camp Pendleton, in physical therapy, my hair was the longest I've ever had it. I look at my son today in the Army, he's doing the same thing, know the ranks and just have it as much as possible. So I'm a little different. I shouldn't be in the service. I learned that by being in the service, but it did teach me a lot about attention to detail. Dan Crenshaw's book, I was listening to it, and he was talking about how the teams and the other stuff teach you how to be attention to detail. And that's the small stuff that makes the most, because if you can't deal with the small stuff, you definitely can't be trusted for the big stuff. And I still believe that to this day. I'm still attention to detail. I'm in loan, so a major attention to details to make sure there's no issues. People get in their homes on time, on task, and there's nobody doesn't get into homes. So
definitely. There was a few years ago, there was that Navy SEAL commander speech that went viral, a valedictorian or some college speech he gave. And it was all about that, making your bed. If you can't make your bed in the morning and make something that small and that easy done, then you're going to have a rough day. And there was a lot more than that as part of it, as Chloe knows, because she's nodding her head. But so, all right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where I am today. I mean, to this day, Davey is the best thing that ever happened to me, right? It's service. You sign on the dotted line and you don't know what you're getting into until you go through it. And a lot of times people complain about how bad it is, right? And then you get out and you're like, oh, that was actually really good. I don't remember how bad that was. And Chloe, you don't have to admit that right now, since you're still in. We can talk to you someday when you get out.
I still get 3 hots and a COTS for free. I don't know what you're talking about, Ed.
See, we didn't get that. So we had to pay for our food. So,
well, that's what happens if you want something that tastes like something.
Yeah,
no, that was even at the hospital. At the hospital, they'd have you go in there to eat at the chow hall, and you had to pay. So,
oh, that's right.
Crazy. So we've got
different.
Brandon. What's going on? If you're still there, welcome. Amy loves numbers also, so there you go. Ed, another nerd. And Josh, what's going on? Afternoon.
I know him, Josh Hyde. Shout out.
Josh Hyde, fantastic.
I do. He was my schoolhouse instructor about a decade ago now, but yeah.
Excellent. And thanks for telling us that Josh is old. There you go.
Sorry, I mean, it was just last week.
It, you know what? Time doesn't really matter. It doesn't. I mean, it's amazing how many people I talk to that are way older than me still, and I seem like I've been old forever. I don't know if I told you, but I lost my dad when I was 12 of hairy cell leukemia that he got from being in the Air Force, working on the planes and all that. So you grow up much faster when you don't have that other person in your life to help you there. And so for me, I've always felt old. I always felt in my 40s, even when I was in my 20s. It's just a different take on things, and I think that's important to learn from where you come from in life, and so you can utilize that to become something else. I guess that answer.
Sure. Oh, definitely. Yeah. And if anyone's joining us, Helping the Brave podcast happening right now. Obviously, if you're watching, if you're listening to this later, we go live every Tuesday and Thursday at 5:30 Eastern, 2:30 Pacific. If you live in the middle of the country, you can figure that one out.
Right. Do math.
If you live somewhere else in the world, do some math and figure that one out.
Call Amy. She'll tell you.
There you go. Today I'm talking, my name is Mohawk Matt. We got Ed Parco, Chloe Hangio. If you are just tuning in, let us know where you're watching from. If you're live with us today, we'll give you a shout out. Ask us any questions you want. Today we're talking about our own transitions. Ed and I have both gotten out of the service. Chloe's still in, so she has some great transition stories, but I don't think she can share what she did when she got out quite yet. But I am going to go to that direction because Chloe, while not out,
actually, can we go back to you?
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about the different generation getting out. And I know I brought up Dan Crenshaw, the person, but in his book, he was talking about when he was getting medically discharged and retired out of the military, how they treated you, which was this: you go in a room and they do everything. And I know more. You want to do your story and explain to people?
Yeah. So there I was. It was 2010. And
okay, this is amazing. We all can do that. All right. We have the mics to do that on. All right.
I got
just gotta get Chloe that mic. So she's already deep enough as it is with her voice. I would hate for her. I would hate to be the one she's yelling at.
Yeah.
And then she walks around the corner. Oh, okay. All right, I'm done teasing.
There we go.
Okay, I'm not.
So you're not. That's why you're part of this, because you're a teasing machine. So yeah, I got in the Marine Corps 20-year plan. My wife and I, I'm doing this 20 years. I freaking love the Marine Corps. Everything about it. Rah, rah. Funny enough, I never got a tattoo, Marine tattoo. And I'm still not sure how I escaped that.
You were married.
No, she was good with it.
Oh.
But I don't know. So rah, rah, loved the Marine Corps, loved everything about it. I was a public affairs combat camera, pretty much a writer. I loved what I did. I loved my experience. And then about a year and a half, 2 years in, I had my first blackout, and I started getting these blackouts, severe migraines. And this was before some of the other things that created other issues for me even happened. And so it was actually funny enough, as I tell this story, you can't see her name because it looks like her account's blocked, but Abby Brown, she served with me in Japan when all of this started happening. So she has actually been to the ER with me many times. There used to be a joke going around my unit: who's been to the ER with Denny the most? Because unfortunately I was going a lot. So my plan was go, stay in forever, whole thing. Boom, got hit, got things, started to fight through it. There was some shining light for about a year. Things got cleared up and then got even worse. The final point was when I got hit with blackout and I lost 7 years of memory. I thought I didn't know I was married. I thought I just got out of high school. The naval, I don't remember this, but the naval doctor was actually yelling at me for not being respectful to him. And my Marines that had my back that were there with me, and again, all told to me later on, they were yelling back at him like, he doesn't even know who he is right now, and you're yelling at him for military decorum? He doesn't even know he's in the military. And so different story, different thing.
Wow.
But so my whole world was rocked. I still got some amazing experiences. Served in the Pentagon, served in Japan Okinawa for 2 years. I got to go to Iwo Jima, which was incredible. I did some stuff in Thailand, involved in Operation Tamagotchi in Japan, the earthquake tsunami of 2011. So a lot of people have 9/11 in their brain. I have 3/11 in my brain. So it's coming up soon when the earthquake tsunami hit in Japan, flew me to the Oki. Different story, different time. So I still had some amazing experiences, but then it came right back enough that I got life flighted from Japan to San Diego, Balboa Naval Hospital down there, and I got thrown into the Wounded Warrior program, which was already messing with my head for two reasons. One, this whole plan I had was like planned out and like just got completely rocked. And then two, being a wounded warrior and having the guy next to you to your left and right missing arms and legs, and I physically, you couldn't see anything wrong. It messed with me more myself. No, everyone else was really cool about it. No one cared, but it actually was harder on me. I was giving myself a hard time about it because I was comparing myself to them and like, I shouldn't be here. But again, different problem. I found people help me get through that. Whole world getting rocked. So when I started to get out and they're saying, hey, this isn't going to become a thing. And I'm going to pause because I love Amy's comment about her dad wanting a Marine tattoo. My mom was like, no, sir, that ain't happening. And now at 52 years of marriage, she gets veto rights. So,
well, I got my first one when I did the Camino de Santiago after that. So that was my first tattoo, and that was a long time. I was in the Navy and never had one, so it was too much of a commitment.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Chloe.
No, it's too much of a commitment, but he was completely okay with signing his life away for 4 years and getting married.
Yeah, well, you said 4 years.
And now deals with loans for houses that are like 20 years. I'm a terrified. Okay.
You can't change it. It's on there permanently. You can black it out, but it's still there. So anyway, back to Matt's story. Come on, Chloe. Come on.
Sorry.
Anyway. Oh, it's all good. I stopped to say what's up to Amy. She got her first in the Navy Reserve, so it's all good. Anyway, so my world being rocked, it starts to realize, hey, this isn't going to be a thing anymore. The Marine Corps is not going to work for you, and well, not work for me. My plans are changing. It rocked me. It to my core, like that was my identity. I loved everything about the Marine, even the stupid crap. Like one of my favorite worst memories is vacuuming a pool table because I have no freaking clue. And they said that we had to clean it and it made the perfect sense. Or dusting a plant. As Chloe, as Ed, anyone that's out there that served, some of those best memories actually come from the most miserable times. Those aren't my most miserable times. Those are just the ones I'm willing to share live. So whole brain getting racked, completely change of shift. It was hard. It's both mentally, it was hard. Physically, I was being taken care of. My job as a wounded warrior was to get better, which in credit to the Wounded Warrior program for any service, it is incredible. There are a lot of people that slip through and some people that should go through it that don't. And some of it's because if you're not missing a limb, you don't deserve type thing that some people believe in. It's an incredible program. Physically, I was being taken care of. I had everything I needed. My room, as you come from the barracks in Okinawa with mold and asbestos, my room in San Diego was amazing. And I had a maid that took out my garbage every day because, again, our job was to get better, not to worry about anything else. I went to yoga. I learned to play the ukulele. So I was being taken care of. But mentally, it was hard. It was hard because everything in my path had changed. And not to mention, I also blacked out every few hours and multiple times a week. So I couldn't drive. I had to wear a life alert around my neck, and so that wasn't great. But for me, the hardest thing was the shift of like, hey, this ain't working. You're gonna do this. But when it happened, when they decided to put in my medical retirement paperwork, and they said, hey, this path that you should take it. I started going on that path. I got incredible help. I had, like Ed said, I got brought into a room, and there's someone at Wounded Warrior Battalion West in San Diego, Marine side, that walks me through every step. Fill out this resume, fill out this thing. Most people, when they get out, they have a week TAPS class, and it's like not that great. It needs to be better. They spend $100,000 to train a basic Marine, and we spend like $12 in a crappy sandwich to get them out. It's a bad system, and I can say that because I'm out. Chloe, don't comment on it yet for a few years, but it can be better. I was taken care of. I had people watching out. So when I got out, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I had people align me up with some jobs. I didn't have a job. I ended up doing a border patrol. So I did an internship, really cool program. If you are listening and you are active duty and you're going the route of medical discharge or medical retirement, you can do an internship while you're, because the retirement takes a process. Like it was like 6, 8 months once they made the decision to go that route. So I was doing border patrol, just kind of taking pictures and having fun with them, getting some civilian experience, still military-esque because the law enforcement and stuff, but it was able to give me a chance to start to get some experience on the outside that I couldn't. One of my favorite things was getting counseled by a border patrol agent for, I wasn't yelling. I didn't think I was being mean, but like yelling, like, "Hey, you can't yell at civilians. Like, that's not how we communicate." I was like, I was just having a conversation. Like, we were good. And so that was a really cool experience to like get that experience to learn. So it's a great program. If people are interested in that, let me know. I know people hook you up with that. It's a great thing. So when I got out, medical transition, different than the way you did that, different than most people do today. I got taken care of. I know a lot of people didn't. And I know, as Chloe has heard me say this before, there was a turning point when I was in a hospital bed in San Diego. I was talking to my buddy. He said he was missing a leg and an arm. And he was talking to me, and he started realizing, he's like, he actually said it out loud. He's like, bro, we're good. We're boys and all, but I don't understand why I'm telling you this. Like, I don't even tell my family. Like, how am I so comfortable right now? And it was a realization that I had that, one, I am not shy. If anybody can know me for half a second, I'm going to talk to you because I don't care. And I like sharing people's stories. In that moment, all the struggles I had with why is this happening to me? And there are other things that I'm not sharing right now that happened throughout my career that cause some other things. Different story, different time. All those hit things in my head. Why is this happening? What's going on? All went away when I had this realization. And that realization was the reason everything happened to me, Matt Denny, was because I'm not shy, because I'm trained as a writer, because I'm a public affairs officer, because all this path that took me down made it so that I was in a perfect position to share their story. And I'm going to freaking cry. That was when I realized everything that happened to me was so that I could help the person that couldn't talk about it, because I could talk about it and I can help them do it. Most people never will. But having that street cred of Wounded Warrior, having that street cred of, and I'm not using it as credibility, but having that bond, that brotherhood, that sisterhood, instantly gives me the rapport with people. Anyone that's a veteran knows this. And so I took that and I ran with it. I said, okay, boom, and I shifted gears. And I Wounded Warriors, I actually got in trouble for this. We get a lot of free stuff. People drop stuff because they're all donating. We get so much stuff. It's Christmas time. I didn't want to do it. So I put out a box in the hallway. I said, hey, if you don't want your stuff, throw it in here. We get lots of socks and clothes. And I got a big old picnic wagon because I couldn't drive because of my life alert stuff, my blackouts. I walked around downtown San Diego, got a cab. He loaded me up, and I just started giving stuff out. Get back to the barracks. Oh, I get lit up. You can't give away that stuff. Blah, blah, blah. I said, hey, I didn't need it. What are you going to do? Kick me out? I don't care. So that was when I started just giving my time that I could back to veterans, back to those who couldn't have a voice. Fast forward 10 years, I did not know, one, that I'd be doing this podcast, two, that that's literally my job now. So for me, it's all come full circle. Well, there's moments that I didn't know what to do and what would happen. I've just started to believe in, hey, I may not understand it yet, but there's a reason. I'm getting set up for something. I maybe hate it right now, but I'm getting set up for something. So You asked about my transition story. I don't shut up. So there's my story.
I'm really glad you shared that with us. And they say you find your why, right? It finds you. And I think that's definitely what happened with you. It found you.
Yep. Definitely. And I'm grateful every day for it. I love when Ed called me, 6-8 weeks ago. He's like, hey, I have this thing. I was like, cool, I'm in.
Yeah. Well, I had the name for a while. I just didn't know how to put the platform together, how to do it. Needed to find the right people. Didn't meet you till Tennessee, July. What was that? July last year or something like that.
September. Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever it was. I don't remember. As you get older, the months just come together, so you lose track of time.
Yes, for sure. So yeah, anyone that's joining right now, just reset the stage. Welcome. We're Helping the Brave live podcast. We are live every Tuesday and Thursday, 5:30 Eastern, 2:30 Pacific. Again, like I said, if you're in the middle of the country, figure it out. Do some math. Today we got myself, Mohawk Matt, Danny. We got Ed Parco and Chloe Hanjo. We are missing our other host, Kristin Babick today, but she's still awesome. We still love her. And yeah, welcome. If you're out there in the comments world, let us know where you're watching from. We'll give you a shout out, give you a virtual high five, and we'll keep chatting.
Yeah, Kristin's the one who will do your conversion math because she's somewhere in central something time. And every time we do this, I'm like, she'll show up, I think.
Yeah.
I think she knows how to read her clock.
She asks all the time.
We're all counting on our fingers like 1, 3.
I don't know.
Well, and what's interesting, Ed, you talked about you had this idea and you didn't know what to do, and then so I actually don't know what drew you to calling me into this.
I just, from meeting you and knowing and starting to get to know who you are and your background, I thought you would be the perfect person for this. I didn't know your job. I didn't know the whole story about you. I just knew that you would be the perfect person for this, and then, and the reason I went to Kristin is we went to hers because she does so much for vets in Texas, even though she's not a veteran, but she does so much for them. It's just amazing for somebody who is not a veteran, how much she does for them. And then you brought in Chloe after we had her on what was that, first episode or so, or second, whatever. And we were like, she's got to be here because she is and I don't want to take away from your story and all your thunder, but how you treat your people and how you make them get ready to get out is amazing. And then I think you should share that part of your story for people to know how they should really transition out and what they should do if they're thinking about it, even if they're going to plan to re-enlist, what they should do. So I'll shut up and the stage is yours, Chloe.
Yeah, thanks for building that up far too high of a glass ceiling of Chloe's nonsense, who hasn't transitioned, but has transitioned like 50-something Marines out of the Marine Corps. So mine's all about, it's not like planning. So planning's not like, just do it, right? Like it's something that takes time, attention, and you really need to focus on it. But the reason why I care so much about transitioning Marines or service members writ large is for 4, 8, 12, whatever indeterminate amount of time you've given up so much of your life, right? And time to an organization. And I've watched a lot of transitions fail a lot. And then a lot of it, in my opinion, falls back on the leaders that, though they haven't transitioned, shouldn't stop you from caring and helping, right? So for me, in the Marine Corps, we're on 4-year contracts, typically. So about a year out from every EAS I've had since I joined, I prepare my resumes and I send them out just to get feedback on course corrections. Even if I am re-enlisting, to Ed's point, it allows me to scope and tailor the education or the training or maybe the opportunities I'm looking for while in service to build a background of experience in doing things. And that's what I coach my Marines through. They come to me, I tell them, are you going to re-enlist? And 9 times out of 10, the reaction I get is like scared. They're not quite sure why I'm asking because they don't know if I'm going to try and convince them. But a piece of advice I got from Brigadier General Maylock in regards to staying in was, it's still service getting out because you know that you are not 100% committed to this anymore, and that's okay. That's not a shameful act to get out of the military service. It's really you leave a gap so that someone else who does has that 100% commitment ready to roll can join, and we continue to keep those people that care 100% in the military. And so when she scoped it for me like that, every year before I get out, the 1 year from getting out of the Marine Corps, I really take some time to look at self-reflection. What do I want, right? There's a book called The Total Performance Scorecard that I picked up several years ago that helps you balance what your organization needs and what you need. And it kind of focuses me on where in my life journey am I at. So by Mohawk, apparently. Yeah. So
power must have went out at his place again.
Transition. Yeah. So transitioning to me is super important because giving service members the time and attention to let them transition, right, is setting them up for success. The Department of Defense makes a promise to the American people that I will take it. I thank you for volunteering for military service since the 70s, right, when we switched to an all-volunteer force. And I will return to you a better citizen. That is the promise the DoD gives every single time someone signs and enlists. And I think that's the thing that, of all the promises we make to the American people as a military service, we, in some regards, don't care about, because I'm losing a body, I'm losing a capability. That person does all these things for me, and I can't lose them. But to some extent, right, you have to do right by the people, because the people is what makes the military work. It's not about the processes. Everyone knows anything in federal government is a bureaucratic nightmare. That's no different in military service. The difference is what separates us from every other agency in the federal government is how you treat your people, because the people are what make the process work. And if you're not taking care of your people, then I would challenge you to do some self-awareness and self-reflection to look at if you yourself are a good leader, or are you a manager? That's okay. You can be a manager, but know that your people are what help you lead and manage. So it's twofold. I've had several Marines that a year out, let's sit down, knock it out. All right, what are the things you're looking at? What do you really care about? Or they come to me and they don't know if they want to stay in. Okay, cool. So let's do hates and likes. Let's knock it out. And if your hate category outweighs your like category, then maybe it's time to start exploring something else. So I usually walk them through first, like, these are the different options in the military service you can do if you want to continue to serve. Maybe you just don't like the thing that you're doing now. And then from there we go, okay, so outside of that, I gave you $10 million today, what would you do? And the answer can't be sit on a beach and drink beer. And they're like, okay, well, I really enjoy coding. Oh, cool. Did you know that the Marine Corps has a program for that? Oh, I didn't. It either goes that way or, I really want to do coding in this way. And it's not something within the portfolio of the Department of Defense. And I'm like, okay, cool. So let's look at civilian options. How do we get you to a course that gets you like entry-level coding to figure out if that's something you like? And that's the reason why I plan out a year, because they might try something that the military provides and find out they either want to stay in and do it in the military, or they find out that's the thing they don't want to do in civilian service at all, which I'd rather have them have 3 hots and a cot and try where I can catch them still and help them, right? Than do it, 4 weeks later, I'm getting phone calls with, I didn't end up liking the job that I thought was super promising. And now, I got to either be miserable at work or I'm going to be homeless. Okay. Like, let's break down the plan. Let's see what's going forward. So that's what I do with my Marines. I have done it since my first duty station. I was probably been in the Marine Corps about a little under 3 years. Because what I had realized is a lot of my Marines were getting out and going back home and doing the same thing that they had done before service. And it was the same thing that they hated. So I had a Marine who was a manager at Taco Bell before he joined the Marine Corps. Joined the Marine Corps. Good Marine, great Marine, right? Gets it done. Didn't have the best plan, because the plan was go to school, which is not the only plan. And we have an episode about it with Dr. Rebecca Hannigan on what you need to do to really be successful at school. And ends up, he hits me up and he's like, yeah, no, I'm still a manager at Taco Bell. I'm like, I'm going to swing by for a free taco, but I thought that was the thing you hated. He's like, yeah, I don't really like it. And I'm just like, come on, man. Like, He was a success story, though. He actually has a CPA. He's a CPA, and he got his master's degree. And I believe he graduated with honors as well. So that's why I do it, because I probably talk to more people out of the Marine Corps than in the Marine Corps in my off hours, because those are the people I enjoyed serving with, and I shared, right, like to Mohawk's point, I shared and had experiences with that never in my life would I thought at 2:00 in the morning this is what we would be doing or talking about, like getting all up in the feelings and expressing and having those connections and bonds. So I think it's super important.
Well, I'm really glad that you only called me at 6 in the morning the other day. Then I was like, "Who?"
She was already busy. She was dealing with other people.
I know, right? There was a line to get at Chloe. Chloe, you are the shining example of leader versus manager. Everything about you. That's why when Ed brought this idea to me, Ed tells a story. I told Ed and Kristin, hey, we should have this person on as a guest. I actually told Chloe, hey, I want you to be a host. So Chloe came into the first episode thinking she was going to host it. And then
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Because when I asked Chloe to be a host, in between me asking that, and then we had talked about, hey, maybe we should have people on as a guest first and then see if they don't suck. And I was like, I know Chloe's not going to suck. I'm not going to tell them. We'll just go with it. And while Chloe was doing her episode, which is funny now because Chloe has to edit her episode. When I think about it that way, and I say it out loud, welcome to the party. You can join us, but we need help. So I just knew you're an instant right person for this because of who you are as a leader and our experience in the last year working together.
Yeah, actually, it's funny you say that, because the second you call me, I was like, yeah, this is Mohawk telling me, he's telling me what this is about. I'm game for it. And then, I obviously was shotgun blasted with, let's talk about Chloe. And Mohawk already knows I hate talking about myself anyways. I'd much rather talk about something else. And meeting Ed and Kristin, it really came down to like, Ed, Ed got out of the Navy. I don't want to date you, dude. I'm so sorry. Okay. I don't care. When men were made of steel and ships were made of wood, I guess. Even though he didn't get on a ship.
That really hurt.
And
think of the knowledge you have here.
The knowledge. No, I mean, you really think about, over 20 years ago, and he still has this passion for helping transitioning service members. And I look at how passionate I am about it in service, and really look at like, man, it'll never leave you. It never leaves you once you join. And it's kind of this thing that it becomes a part of your identity. And I think it's super cool. And then Kristin, who's just like, no, I just love vets. And I'm like, that, like, a lot of people wouldn't be just like, I love vets and let me do something about it. Right. 100 people tell me, thank me for my service. And one of that is just like, no, like I'm going to invest my time, my money in helping. And that's something that I think the military's continually struggled with since existence. There's spikes in it. And I think she's like, what she does is phenomenal down in Texas.
It's fantastic.
Yes.
So I'm going to interrupt us real quick. Rocky Mountain High. Yes, we can see the chat. So Rocky Mountain High is coming to us from YouTube. So I'm going to shift just really fast to anyone that wants to do podcasting, videos, anything. We have 0 followers on YouTube. This is the first time that we've ever pushed to YouTube because it didn't work on Tuesday. And boom, we got Rocky Mountain High join us in. So don't wait because you're waiting for people to join. If we were waiting for people to join this podcast, we still would be waiting. We're just like, we're just starting. And if people come in, fantastic.
Right. But if you are on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and share.
Yeah. So Rocky Mountain High, bring us to that 1 subscriber level. Thank you.
You will live in infamy as our first follower on YouTube.
Yeah, we'll keep it. Yes, very much so.
100%.
Rocky Mountain High, your uncle was a Marine. That's fantastic. Obviously, he was a good member of your family, and an awesome human. So, dude, you need to check something out. Awesome. Send it to us. We will. So we're talking about transitioning, our different experiences, all kinds of things. What's in your head, Ed?
So I have a question. So my dad was in the Air Force. My uncle was in the Air Force. My stepdad was in the Marine. How's your service level in your guys' family? And my son's in the Army. I still like him, but he's in the Army. Except for on, Army Navy football days,
Sure.
Get out.
For sure. Chloe?
So 3 of my grandparents served in the Army. So they actually opted in during the internment camps for Asian Americans and continued service afterwards. My mom used to tell me stories about my grandpa growing up because he got a finger shot off and how she used to wait. Like it used to be a special treat when the VA disability check would come in the mail. And both my parents were in college during their time there. My dad could have potentially been drafted, but yeah. And my grandma, I actually have a super old photo of my grandma in uniform serving as a nurse, which she continued to do after she got out of the Army.
Wow.
Awesome.
Because you talked about the internment camps, right? For during that war, and where I live in Modesto, but the town below me, Turlock, the county fairgrounds is where they held one.
Wow. Yeah. So my dad, when I was a kid, we did a road trip out to one because my dad thought it was extremely important that we understood just the history of the nature of things, not in a negative way. It wasn't like let's burn, anything. It was more looking at it like this is why our family's so like this is what they, you too can pull yourself up by your bootstraps, dust yourself off, and like be like my grandpa ended up owning his own medical practice as a doctor.
Wow.
I remember going to it as a kid. So yeah, it was super cool and really hot. Like temperature wise, like it was like in the middle of the desert near Death Valley is the one that my grandparents were at. And it was probably about 120 degrees outside when we were out there.
Yeah, I believe the same way. You have to know your history and how we got to where we are so that we don't repeat certain things again. If you don't have that to go back on, then things happen to us again. Because if you don't know your history, you'll repeat it. So,
yeah, 100%. What about you, Mohawk?
Yeah. So my grandpa was in the Navy. I actually didn't really know much about it until I got in. And I didn't know I had 3 uncles who served because my grandpa was a submariner during the Pearl Harbor time frame, and fantastic. But I never really knew it. It wasn't something that was talked about. Not negative. It just wasn't ever talked about. But my uncles, I had 3 uncles. When I told everyone that I was joining, I actually learned they were in. I had no idea, and I learned later the reason. Because they were during Vietnam, and they don't talk about it the same way. Like to Ed's point earlier, it was a different era when you got out, and different than Ed's. Ed's not that old.
Hell, you watch it.
but and so it was that like I talked to earlier, that instant bond. As soon as they found out I was joining, they started like, oh, this like it's crazy how that works and how that comfort level changes. So no, it was just my uncles and my grandpa. But it wasn't anything that was in my brain of like, your family served, you will serve. I had no idea for most of it. No one served around me, below me. So after I did my Marine time, my brother just got out of the Marine Corps 3 months ago, and very different experiences. Not going to have him on here maybe for a long time, if ever, because he hated the Marine Corps. But then he got out, like to Chloe's point, you don't know what happens when you get out. He loves what he's doing now, and he's all right. But he's like, oh, I actually kind of miss it. Even those things that you think you hate, there's parts that you did it for 4 years. And I'm not talking 4 years. That's what's different about veterans. And I think that's why this mission of transitioning is so important, because it's not like you have a job for 4 years. You go to work Monday through Friday, you show up, you go home, you have a life. You serve in the military, that's your life. Like you don't have, like most veterans, to their fault. I hope you help them with this, Chloe, as they're getting out. Most people that get out, I did this. Oh, when you look at a resume, it's like, oh, what did I get paid per hour? They divide it by like, you know exactly what I'm talking about, Chloe. They're like, oh, I work every hour because they can call me anytime. Come on, like I only get 2 cents an hour. And because it's your life. That's why I think transitioning is important, because it's so different. And I'm very fortunate. I went into the working for the Navy a few months after I got out. So I never even fully experienced that whole transition of what that looks like, because I'm still around it enough. Different, but not the same to pure civilian life.
Yeah, I mean, you can still say jargon and people don't look at you like you're crazy, right? So like any military slang, you can be like, "Oh yeah, it's still on target," and they're like, "Yeah." You say that to like, I don't know if I've ever said it to a civilian that's not service connected, but if they'd be like, "Still on what target?"
What are you still? Are you stealing someone's target? Are you stealing something from Target?
Right?
Yeah.
Excellent. Rocky Mountain High. Yeah. Throw me a link. We'll look. I'll look at something you got later, and maybe we'll have him on the show. He's got a great story. It's fantastic. Thanks for sharing.
And if you're out there watching this and you have a great story or you just want to share, please contact us. You can email us at info@helping the brave, or you can find us on Instagram. Find us pretty much anywhere. Just send us.
On YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm going to change Ed's statement just a little bit.
Okay, go ahead.
Don't reach out if you think you have a great story. Reach out if you have a story. It's your story is great. Don't think, oh, it's got to be like, you don't have to have this beautiful thing. Your story. I know, right?
I just met everybody you're right. Everybody has a great story. I didn't mean to like it has to be a great story.
No, right? I know, but I only say that because if I would have heard that back,
I understand
where my mind used to be, I would have thought, oh, no, they don't want me. They only want great stuff.
Share your story. Is that better?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. I'll work on my English.
All right. So I think we've shared a good amount. I mean, we're not talking about Chloe's transition because she's still in.
She's not there yet.
We've had some experience, very different experience for Ed. So you talked about some of the things you did, but did you have support? I'm going to ask this of both of you and myself. Did you guys have support when you joined? And
no.
Got out?
No, I went to my parents' didn't come, my graduation, my parents didn't come to any of that kind of stuff. I should say my mom. So I didn't have that support there. So it was totally different for me. When I got out, I stayed in Oceanside, stayed in Southern California. Because at that point, I by the time I got out, I became married, had a child, that whole thing. So I was in San Diego. So that was my support, right? That family.
How old were you when you joined?
Me? Yeah. Right out for high school, 17 and a half.
Woo.
Yeah, I was a youngie.
Gotta get the young guns.
And I was, so everybody says 4 years. I was in 5 years, 5 months, and 14 days. But who was counting?
You were.
At the end there, I was so done. I mean, I was at the point where I knew that's not the path for me anymore. I'm here. I just need to get through this to get to where I want to go. And I look back, it was a great time. I mean, I would ride my bicycle into work. Like I was a cyclist, and I'd ride into work, ride home, when I went to college. From there, I'd go to college right there and ride home. So I rode all the time, and it was a great time. Camp Pendleton at that time, the hospital was in kind of in the middle of the base, right? Not where it is now in the front. So that was a good, 30-mile track every day. Plus I would do extra. So that part, physical fitness was great at the time, so.
It's not now. Are you saying you don't do physical fitness now?
Not the same way as back then, I mean, I'm freaking older, and see, when I joined, I was 155 pounds. I average now 250. So,
Rocky Mountain High, our email address is info@helpingthebrave.com.
Oh, I was just going to put it on the screen. But
aren't you fancy?
Well, he controls everything. He has that controlling thing.
We're just backseat drivers living in his world, Ed.
That's right.
It's all good.
Hey, this is the third time I've gone live today, so I guess.
Well, you want to keep bragging?
Yeah. Yeah, I might go live later. Who's down? I'm in.
Yeah, you're here. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
So, Chloe, how old were you when you got in?
I was old.
You're old?
20. I joined when I was 20.
I was older, 23.
Wow.
God.
I was out by then.
Yeah, crazy. So it was really funny because, like, when I got in, I had all the jobs I needed. I joined because I wanted to serve, not because I needed to. And when I got in, the dynamic. So before then, I had lots of jobs. I was always I had lots of jobs because I sucked at controlling money. So it was the only way that I could balance my spending habits. And so when I got in, I'm like, in my mind, not good with money, but because I was 23, I had experience, I had jobs. I became like the barracks guru of like, hey man, how do you make your paycheck go more than 48 hours after you get it? Like seriously? Eat at the chow hall, first of all. And so it was definitely interesting being 23 and joining versus like 17 or 20. I mean, Chloe, I think we talked about it on a previous episode. I want Chloe to say where she realized where she was and when she found out she was joining or realized.
So off the 5, I said the 5, so you know I'm from Southern California. The 55 actually too is an In-N-Out in Tustin-ish area. And I was sitting in a 2006 Chevy Impala with an In-N-Out burger fresh in my hand, staring at a recruiting station. Was like, sure, why not? See what this is about. And it happened to be the Marine Corps office and the Army office were the only two that were open. And the Marine Corps office was closer, so I walked into that one. Sergeant Christopher Pate was my recruiter. He was a grunt, and it was probably the easiest contract he wrote all month. I was like, hey, my name's Chloe. He's like, you're a post grad. I was like, yes. He's like, you do drugs or been in jail? I was like, no. He's like, all right, here's the dime pitch. Gives it to me. I was like, yeah, sounds great. I think I could do that. He's like, all right, cool. 2 weeks later into the delayed entry program, like 2 weeks after that at medical, like 4 months later, gone. But yeah, because I was 20, and I think it might be similar for you, Mohawk. Like I didn't look for parental support. Like I had jobs growing up because my dad was a firm believer in a good work ethic, and how he decided to train that is to make me work. So it turns out that sticks. Yeah, but my parents are super supportive, and my sister as well. So, but I was also 20, so even if they had said no, it would have been, well,
done it anyway.
Yeah.
Later.
So Amy, who some of us know, was 17.
Wow.
Like you had.
Yeah, how did you start that conversation, Ed, with your parents?
I didn't.
Did you have to have their?
I just told them I was joining the Navy because at the time excuse me, I thought I wanted to be in the medical field, whether it was a nurse, a doctor, whatever. And so I'm like, I'm going to go in as corpsman, see if it's what I really want to do before I spend all this time in school. And so I told him that, and I was in a small town, in Turlock, which at the time was really smaller. Yeah, we don't need another dog on here. So basically I just, it was one of those things. I signed up to get out of there, right? I didn't want to be in there. Because a lot of people I knew who graduated, they went to college and then they were back, right? A year later, or they were back 6 months. They couldn't stand being in a college. So I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to get out, see the world. Unfortunately, I got to see San Diego, which was good.
I was going to say, you could have been in 29 Palms.
Actually, I almost got stationed in North Carolina. When after boot, and you go to Balboa Hospital for the Corps school, and everybody in our class, they were all from the West Coast, got East Coast billets, which is unheard of, right? Usually they keep you on each side, right? And luckily, the top 3 people in the class they changed the stuff and gave us California, and 2 of them stayed in San Diego, and I got Camp Pendleton, and I got the best deal out of it because being on a Marine Corps base, naval hospital, it's totally different than being at like 32nd Street or, the Navy people. And I was so naive. I had no idea. I didn't know that, and please don't get offended, but the Marine Corps was a department of the Navy, right? I didn't know any of that. I mean, midshipman, why is there Marine? And, I didn't understand any of that at the time. So
most Marines don't know they're a part of the Department of the Navy.
Right.
Yeah.
Or they don't accept it. One of the
right. You're not my real dad.
Yeah, well, that's why we'd always pick on each other. You guys call us squid, we call you jarhead, and we say we're always a higher form of Marine live. So.
Right.
Well, you know what Marine stands for, right? As a Navy man?
No.
My ass rides in Navy equipment.
Is that what it stands for?
There you go.
The Navy's just my taxi to get where I need to go. All right.
There you go. Yeah, my son, he's in the Army. He makes fun of the Navy all the time. I said, well, don't call for support off coast if you need it anywhere.
Well, I think, and that's what I think is part of that bond, is we all jib and jab when push comes to shove, we all drop each other everything for each other.
That's right.
And just like we did when we served, while Chloe's still serving, we're doing it now. And that's what this is about. Ted's point, if you're listening to this now, later on Spotify, Apple, later sometime, and you know someone that has a story, let us know, reach out. We will help connect, because not only share their story, and if you didn't serve and you have a way to help veterans transition, that's what we want too. This is about helping people transition, whether it's from the military to civilian or just any part of their life. We'll take, just like the Army, we'll take anybody.
I had to throw that one in there. That's because and actually, I mean, because it's been a long time since I've been in, right? But I still I'm here to help people no matter what, because we all need help along the way. And maybe if there's a way to help each other to get to the next level, it's where we all need to be together and help each other and grow. So, and just, I don't know if people know this, but we're going to have additional guests on to talk about certain types of transitioning or certain things to deal with. We have a few guests coming up. We actually had one today, but unfortunately something happened. And so we stepped in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep, because you got to keep going forward.
That's
now
right.
They're gonna know anytime it's just like the 3 or 4 of us. They're like, "Oh,
somebody bailed."
Happened.
Not always.
Hey, but we're here.
That's right. Show up.
Whether people show up, we'll be here.
That's right.
And a couple people saying what's up before we go. Roy, Chloe, and I know Roy very well. Just transitioned from actually he's got his own experience, but probably simple transition compared to a lot of Marines. He got to do what he was doing right before he got out. So fantastic. And Amy, here we go. Before we go, fun question. Thoughts on the Space Force and the Guardians?
Someone else go first.
Yeah. Hey, I've been watching For All of Mankind. Have you guys watched that on Apple TV?
No.
It's basically it's about if we didn't stop with just the moon landing, if we kept going on the moon and building a force, putting a station up there, the whole thing, and going through so so for me, I have no issue with the Space Force. So
I think the Guardians is sweet. Freaking, I wish I was called the Guardians.
You got Jarhead instead.
Come on.
Dude with Mohawk.
That's right.
Yeah, I know Space Force is if you really look at how the future's operating, right? It's got a great point, 100%. Also, your fun fact: the boiling temperature of water on Mars is significantly less than Earth. So if we don't take protective measures, next time anyone tries to go to Mars, all the water in your body will boil from the inside out.
Ooh. So I'm going to give you one more fun fact about Mars, because I got to celebrate two weeks ago. We got that new landing rover on Mars.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually was there in my old job in China Lake. I got to see that parachute that just landed on Mars, the exact parachute. I got to watch it get tested in California. They had a base out there, and I didn't actually. I was like, "Yay, we landed something else on Mars! Cool." Elon Musk's car is probably getting there too by now. But then I realized, I was like, "Wait a minute, that was." I counted. I did some Marine math. I was like, wait a minute. Oh, that was that parachute. Oh yeah.
No, he had to take his boots off. That's what that means.
I did, and call a couple of friends.
I thought you were going to say you saw the studio that they made it in. the landing.
Are we talking Mars? Or are we talking
everything?
Space Force.
No, we're talking the actual, like it's fake, it's a conspiracy kind of thing, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. So, great episode today. Hopefully, you guys gained something. I know we all did. I cried, so there you go.
So did Chloe. She just held it back.
So did Chloe. She's just stronger than me.
My tear ducts are broken. I don't know what you're talking
about. Ed, Chloe, anything before we go?
I'm good.
For anyone out there who needs help, if you please hit us up. If there's something, we all respectively have a long list of Rolodexes in our phones now. And if someone comments they don't know what a Rolodex is, we will all collectively feel very old. But the contacts that we have, please let us know and reach out.
Yeah, Rolodex is about 40 years after Ed's time.
Rolodex, people still have those from, 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, but it's funny. I've seen some of those flip ones on TV. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, hey, anyone that's out there, thanks for tuning in tonight. Again, Tuesdays, Thursdays, 5:30 p.m., 2:30 Pacific. We're going to be here. whether our guests show up or not. And Ed, next week we do have I can't remember what day it is. And you guys, so if you follow Helping the Brave on LinkedIn, follow Helping the Brave on Facebook and on YouTube. One of our guests next week is going to be talking about survivor's guilt, correct?
Correct. I think that's on I think it's Thursday. Dr. Jeff Spencer is going to be on. He's going to talk about a bunch of other stuff, but excuse me, definitely about how to deal with certain things that come up in the military mentally that we have that and how to deal with those things. Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, she's got your back.
Yeah, I can see that.
Oh, Tuesday is Greg Zur.
Yeah.
And who's Greg Zur?
So Greg Zur and I served together. He has transitions out. He's got the weirdest transition out of the military I've ever seen in my life.
Fantastic.
So both those episodes will be really good.
Definitely. And Chloe's still mad that she missed it the other day. So that's a major promo.
If people haven't listened to the last one we had, he was pretty amazing. I mean, nobody knows what other people have done for us, you know what I mean, for the United States and for the world when it comes to helping with terrorism and stuff. And that was an amazing story. So if you guys are listening to now, go back to our other episode it's on YouTube, or have you put it there?
Yep, it's on our YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. Go search Helping the Brave. You'll find us out there. Instagram. The video's not on Instagram, but we're on there.
Yeah. It was Anthony Stephen Malone. He was a unique individual. So
definitely fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Ed, Chloe, don't hang up. Everyone else, have a great night.
Bye.